Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. What you just heard there was my morning jam. It's part of my warm-up routine that I do every day, and I've got a video coming out on that, I think later this week. Basically how to structure a practice routine and so on, because I've had a few requests to do that kind of video. And part of my practice routine is just limbering up, playing over a jam track, which is exactly what I was doing there. And in this series of videos I've been doing on a Monday now, I think this is number 40 in this particular series, we're looking at lead guitar playing and little tips and tricks for playing lead guitar. Use this scale, and if you add that note and it sounds like this, and etc, etc. But one thing I've never been through, and I think it's high time I did, is talking about how you plan a solo, how to know what to play. You know, what kind of licks am I going to use, where will I find those on the neck, you know, what key am I in, and all that kind of stuff that is just often, even by me, because I haven't tackled this so far, overlooked. So here's some information on exactly what goes through my mind as I'm looking at a jam track and thinking, what am I going to play here?
Here is the explanation.
Okay, so the first thing I'm looking for when I'm going to start thinking about jamming over a backing track is, what is the tonality? And this is what many people actually mean when they say, what key is it in? A key is something kind of different to tonality, and we'll come to that later. But all you've got to do to figure out the tonality is listen. The chord which sounds like home, the chord which makes everything sound finished, at rest, that resolves any sense of momentum or movement in the chord sequence. Often, but not always, that can be visually determined just by looking at what the first chord is. It's where that old wives' tale of, you can easily tell what key something's in, you just look at the first chord. It's not always the case. You can't take that to the bank. The best way of doing it is just to play the chord sequence through. And in this sequence we have an F sharp minor chord, going to an E major, going to an A major, going to another E chord, this time first inversion, so E over G sharp, then back down to F sharp minor again, then to a D, then to a B major, to an E, and then it starts again on the F sharp. So if I play through that, I'll just try and kind of run through that. Here's how it sounds. You can hear that when it lands on that F sharp minor at the end there, then that feels like everything has arrived back home. It feels like the natural place to resolve things. So the tonality of that chord sequence is F sharp minor, and what that means is that now I have a pentatonic scale which will kind of work over the whole thing as basically as a safety net. That's my starting point. So F sharp minor pentatonic, the 5 different positions of that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're back to the one you started on an octave higher. And you can play the entire solo just by joining those box patterns together. So that's the first thing. What's the next thing I want to know? Well, what are the individual chords? Why do I need to know that if I've got a scale that will play over everything? Well, because there are some notes in those chords that I might find handy. The pentatonic scale is so called because it has 5 notes, penta meaning 5, and the 5 notes in an F sharp minor pentatonic are F sharp, A, B, C sharp, and E. But just by a quick visual examination of, when I go to that E chord, you can see that it's got this note in here. It's a G sharp. And that note is just outside the pentatonic. That means I can add that note in. Okay, I've got another note that I can use, another colour on the palette. Likewise, when it goes to the D chord, that's got a D note in it. And if you remember, F sharp, A, B, C sharp, E, there's no D note in the F sharp minor pentatonic, so I can add the D note in. So now I've got F sharp, G sharp, that's in the E chord, A, B, C sharp, D, that's in the D chord, and then the E, and then back to F sharp again. I've got not a pentatonic scale now, I've got a minor scale, or a mode, Aeolian mode in this case. But don't get too tied up in that for the moment. I was doing this kind of stuff, adding notes into pentatonics for years, before I understood modes. I was reading about modes in guitar magazines, and I didn't understand them, and then I was doing this. Then one day the penny dropped, and I realized, okay, so it's that kind of shoehorning chord notes into a pentatonic thing. That's a way into it. So now I've got some extra notes that I can add into the pentatonic scale to give myself a little bit more colour. I think when I played one of the opening licks, I went onto that G sharp note there when the chord change went to an E, and it just kind of ties it into the chord sequence a little bit more. It's not just that you can add that G sharp note over the E chord, you can add it in anywhere, but the E chord is a good place to put it in and make a feature of it and just, kind of say, hello, here's a nice note for this chord. But, elsewhere I was using the G sharp over other chords, but just not kind of hanging around on it, using it as what's called a colour tone. The other thing I'm going to be thinking about is what are the individual pentatonics of the different chords. So let's pick an area of the neck. We might as well stay down here. I've got F sharp minor pentatonic that we know will work over the whole thing. But then I've also got an E major pentatonic, which will work over the E chord. I've got an A major pentatonic, that's basically the same thing as an F sharp minor, so they're same notes, but you're just kind of thinking of it as its relative major. D major pentatonic would look like this down here, for when we get to the D chord. Then when we hit the B chord, I've got a B major pentatonic. There like that as well. So just knowing those pentatonic boxes and where they are, all over the neck means that you can sort of condense them down into one place. And if you want to play something where there's where you're kind of playing in a more caged system sort of way, where you're changing with the individual chords, then that's something that you can do. So F sharp minor, E major, to A major, to E major again, F sharp minor, to D major, B major, and then finally back into E major again. And then back into F sharp minor again, just seeing where all of those patterns intersect wherever you happen to be on the neck gives you the freedom to do that. You find that's something that's often done by guitar players who are the guitar player in the band. We talk about rhythm guitar and lead guitar, but someone like, pick an example, Billy Gibbons will do this quite a lot, where because there's no rhythm guitar part underneath him, he's hinting at the chord sequence via his pentatonics that he's using, kind of suggesting at that by playing the pentatonic of the chords that would be there, but there's no rhythm guitarist playing them. The next thing I want to think about is what is the overall key, and this is like more of a me thing. Whenever I do any of the kind of little, my pretty much my one and only flashy thing that I probably play too much in. that kind of thing, that legato thing that I lean on perhaps a bit too much. That's always going to be based around some kind of major scale. At least that's how I think about it. And the overall key of this, here's a little tip for you. Whenever you just think of this little pattern of bar chord shape, so that chord going to that chord, like the A bar chord shape, like that. So the old kind of rock and roll 3-chord trick thing. Eddie Cochran box, as I call it. Whenever you have 2 major chords, like a D and an E, a tone apart, as we've got there, that always puts you into the key of whatever that chord is. So in the key of A, your 3 major chords are A, then the D and the E chords, which are a tone apart. It's an easy way to find out what key something's in. And in this case here, we have got a D chord and an E chord. So I know that I'm in the key of A, or its relative minor key of F sharp minor. So anytime I want to do any of those kind of fast twiddly-widdly bits, I find it easier to do that with a major scale bass drum because, a major scale has 7 notes, a pentatonic scale has 5, remember. So if I'm playing something where I've got 7 notes in the scale, I've got more notes per square inch under my fingers, and I just find it easier to do a faster twiddly thing without having to move around so much if I've got more kind of notes in wherever my fingers happen to be on the neck. There are other considerations, but that's the main one that I tend to think of. If I want to play something a little bit flashy, then I find it easier if I've got a major scale rather than a pentatonic to do it with. So this is in A major, or its relative minor of F sharp minor, and we've already discussed what the notes are in that. We've got F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, and F sharp. And again, just being able to know where that exists all over the neck means that I can put major scale type licks in, or in this case minor scale licks. A minor scale is just a major scale viewed from its 6th note, relative minors and all of that. So that's that covered. And then the other thing I want to know about is, are there any potential wrong-uns that I could land on? Are there any chords in the chord sequence that have just kind of been borrowed from other keys? And we know we're in the key of A major here, or its relative minor F sharp minor. It doesn't matter which way you describe it, they've both got the same chords. And the chords in that key are, we know that there's an A, a D, and an E. If you want to know what the other chords in the key are, just think of the relative minors of each of those 3 major chords. We know that every major chord has a relative minor, and the relative minor of A major is F sharp minor. That's why the key of A major is also the key of F sharp minor, because F sharp minor is the relative minor of A major. But the D chord, D major, the relative minor of that is B minor, and the E chord, the relative minor of that is C sharp minor. So string those chords together in order, you get A, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, and then of course there's the weird little minor 7, half flat 5, half diminished thing that takes us back home. That's if you want to kind of waste a couple of hours, go and Google something called the Tristan chord. That's one of those type of chords. But anyway, so looking at the chord sequence, we have got one chord in the chord sequence which isn't from that pool, from that set of resources, and that's the B chord. When we come to the second half of the sequence, we're going F sharp minor, D major, B major to E. So first of all, why is that B major chord there? Well, we're going to be getting into modes if we start talking too much about that. It's basically coming from another F sharp minor tonality. Oh, there's my phone pinging. It's coming from an F sharp minor, another F sharp minor tonality, F sharp Dorian. I've done plenty of videos on modes. Go and search those out if you want to know what's going on. But basically, think of it as a chord borrowed from a related key. And all I've got to do is make sure that when that chord comes along, I don't kind of stand on, a loose tile, as it were. The B major has a D sharp note in it. B minor, which is the chord which is in the key, has a D natural in it. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just make sure that I don't land on that D natural note that's in the F sharp minor scale. I'm going to make sure I don't land on that when the B major chord is there. I'll just go on to a D sharp instead. Just kind of swap that note out for that particular chord. And once I've got all of that kind of organised up in me noggin here, then I'll press play and start playing along with it. It might seem like a lot to kind of a lot of plates to be spinning, but it's just experience getting used to doing it. And if there are any of the things that I've gone through there, like what chords are in a key, where are your pentatonic boxes, what notes are in a chord to add into a pentatonic scale, all that sort of stuff, well, that is kind of shining a light on perhaps things that you should be brushing up on. And, it's fun because as you learn how to do something new, you're creating a new sound. You're creating a new. You're hearing sounds coming out of your guitar that you've not possibly heard before, and that's a gratifying, satisfying, enjoyable thing. Enjoyable way of spending your time, I think. It is for me, anyway. So anyway, there you go. Now you know what to do. Go away and have some fun with it.
And now, a message from our sponsor.
Hello chaps, I just want to butt in here for a second to let you know that if you're enjoying these videos, you can get them weeks, if not months in advance by signing up for the Tier 2 level of my Patreon membership. Tier 1 at $3 a month gets you access to the tabs and jam tracks and so on that accompany the YouTube videos when they go out on YouTube. But if you can't wait and you want early access, Tier 2 is what you need. $6 a month, you get early access to the videos and any associated tabs and so on. Plus you also get a twice monthly at the moment, although I'm looking to make it a little bit more frequent, Zoom hangout with me and the other Tier 2 chaps. If you're not interested in an ongoing financial regular commitment each month, then fear not, you can also purchase individual pieces of content, a tab or a jam track or anything like that for $3 a pop. No ongoing commitment, no nothing. You can just buy it and it's yours to keep. And I think that's covered everything, so that's the shilling done with. Now back to the show. So hopefully that gives you some idea of what's going on up inside this shiny bald noggin as I'm about to launch into the first lick of a solo. There's probably different ways of doing it. Well, of course there are different ways of looking at it. We all have our own unique perspective, but that is mine, and hopefully that has provided you with some kind of pointers in what to be thinking about before you play a solo. And as I said, if there's any of the things there that you are perhaps a little bit shaky on, a little bit hazy in your knowledge about where this is or what scale that is or what notes are in that chord or anything like that, then that's something to focus on in your practice routine. And as I say, I've got a video on that coming up later in the week. But that is the video for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed it, found it useful, informative, perhaps inspiring. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. And of course, don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time. We drink beer and we talk about stuff. And it's a great way to kick off the weekend. I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.